When you're installing data cables and mains cables into a system, there's two things that you need to bear in mind. One is the safety of the installation, and the other is the reliability of the installed system. We're going to illustrate this point using this Dado trunking from the eFIXX compact range from eFIXX. So we've already got our mains cables installed here, as you can see. So what's to stop me from taking this data cable and installing it into the same section as the mains cable here? Well, let's turn to the regs and consider that question. Now, BS 7671 refers to voltage bands 1 and 2, and without getting too technical, data cable generally falls under band 1, and band 2 is your mains cable. Regulation 528.1 refers to the proximity of wiring systems to other electrical services, and it starts by saying that neither a voltage band 1 nor a voltage band 2 circuit shall be contained in the same wiring system as a circuit of nominal voltage exceeding that of low voltage, and a band 1 circuit shall not be contained in the same wiring system as a band 2 circuit. So that seems fairly straightforward, doesn't it? I can't install this cable in this section. But it's interesting though that it says it can't be contained in the same wiring system. So according to that, I can't even install it in this Dado trunking at all? Or can I? Well, the indents that follow outline circumstances where we can in fact install data and mains cables together. So we can install them together if, according to indent 1, every cable or conductor is insulated for the highest voltage present. So if this data cable has insulation rated at or above the voltage in the mains cable, I could run them together. Now there's reasons you may not want to do that, but we'll get to those in a minute. Are there any other options from this regulation? Well, indent 2 refers to multi-core cables. Indent 3 we're going to circle back to in a moment. Indent 4 suggests we can install them on the same cable tray as long as there's a physical partition that separates the cables of different bands out. Indent 5 always seems a little bit redundant to me because it states that you can employ a separate conduit trunking or ducting system, which would kind of suggest that the cables are not in the same wiring system. It's almost as if it could read, a band 1 circuit shall not be contained in the same wiring system as a band 2 circuit unless they are not contained in the same wiring system. Maybe it suggests you can install trunking inside trunking. Your thoughts below on that one, please. Indent 6 again refers to multi-core cables, so we'll save that for another video. But if we go back to indent 3 now, we can see that we can install data and mains cables together if the cables are insulated for their system voltage and installed in a separate compartment of a cable ducting or cable trunking system. So this data cable is insulated to a sufficient level for a networking system, and we can indeed install it in a separate compartment of trunking, such as we've got here. We can run it through this top section and comfortably meet the requirements of this regulation, even if the insulation on the data cable is not rated to the same value as the mains cable. But we said at the start of the video that we also need to think about the reliability of the installed system. And we also said that there may be other considerations as to why we wouldn't want to run even appropriately insulated data cables along with mains cables. So how do we address that? Well, whenever current runs through a conductor, it creates a magnetic field around itself. And in an AC circuit particularly, that current is always changing value, which means that the magnetic field is always changing its strength. Now, this magnetic field is often balanced out by the current in the returning neutral. However, the changing magnetic field can cut across another conductor and generate current inside the other conductor. Now, for another mains cable, this tiny generated current doesn't really cause any problems. But inside the data cable that relies on small currents to transmit information, even a small change in that current can corrupt the data and reduce the reliability of that data transfer. So moving the data cable into this top section of the trunking not only removes the need to find data cable with mains rated insulation, it also gets it physically further away from magnetic fields that could corrupt the data transmission. However, depending on the types of loads that this mains cable is feeding and the structure of the installed cables, this distance here may not be enough to protect the data cable from those magnetic fields. So what can we do to offer further protection? Well, we can install this specially designed steel strip here into the top section of the trunking and connect it to the earthing system. Because steel is ferromagnetic, the magnetic field gets distorted and partially contained in the steel strip when it tries to pass through the metal, which means that less of the magnetic field comes into contact with the data cables and protects the system even further from that electromagnetic interference, or EMI. So there we go. By installing data cables and mains cables to a high standard, we can ensure that the system will remain safe and reliable. But as always at eFIXX, we want to hear from you. Have you ever had issues with unreliable data transfer caused by electromagnetic interference from cables installed in Dado trunking, or perhaps some other close proximity? Or do you have any other tips or tricks for reducing these issues? Whatever the case, please leave your comments below. All that remains in this video is to say, thank you very much for watching.